Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial on the SimpleAPI framework. So we are going to be using as a demonstration an API called JSON placeholder. So this API is just as you can see for testing and prototyping, but it's got some really nice features. It's supporting all the CRUD operations, so create, read, update and delete, and we can have access to a series of endpoints. Specifically for this one, we're going to be accessing the users endpoint, which gives us 10 users in JSON format. So SimpleAPI will automatically translate the JSON to a C# class, but we're going to have to create the C# class. Specifically for this example, we're going to have it just with the name, the username, the email, and finally the phone number. And it's all going to be going into our custom class. So let's do that. Let's begin with our custom class in C#. So in Unity, we're gonna go into the code and create a new class that we're gonna be naming mock API sample. Inside the mock API sample, we're gonna be using our SimpleAPI namespace. And we're gonna start by creating our nested class, which is going to be comprised of the variables that we already said that we want to have in it. Now that we have our class, let's actually create a method that is going to get a list of all the users and then it's going to print them off. So we're going to use the getArray method of API utils, and we're going to copy and paste in the address of the endpoint that we can get from the API here to get all the users. After that is done, we're just gonna set them to our m_users list, and then in start we're gonna get the users. Oh, let's not forget that we also have to make the user class serializable so that it can be seen and parsed by the JSON parser. Then let's go into Unity, let's create a new game object, and then let's attach the example class to it. And if we play it, we can see that, bam, we got all the users and they correspond to the users that we have on the mock API placeholder util. So Lian Graham is the first one, and that's the phone number, and it just corresponds. And we have Chelsea down here somewhere. There she is, and we can see that the email for some reason is Lucio. But yeah, fair enough. We can probably go and change that later on. So let's actually see how we get a single user, right? So we're gonna get a user by its ID. We get the user with the same API, we pass the ID, and then we debug log the name, the username, the email, and the phone. So the API will make sure that we await that call first, and we get the second user, right? Which is going to be actually the first in the array. So let's have a look at what happens when we press play. We get all the users, and then boom, we also have the user here that we get, Evan Howell. Second, of course, sorry, Evan Howell. There we go. Next, we're gonna have a look at how to modify a user. So we're gonna create a method to change the email of a user. We're just gonna copy and paste everything, but we're gonna put this time instead of get. So first, we're gonna have to create a new user, and we're just gonna get the user that we have from before, and then we're just gonna modify the email and put it there, and then we're gonna add it to the users array locally as well. So we have to actually set up the user here to be -1 instead of +1, because the array starts again at 1 instead of 0 in JSON. So we say that users are at the ID -1 is going to be the user that we get, and it's going to be the one which we have modified. So let's have a look at how that works inside of Unity. So we start, we get the users, and bam, we've changed the email for Erwin Howell at something at mail.com. There we go, that's done. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Next, we're gonna have a look at how to add a new element to the array, right? First online, of course, and then offline. So let's create a method called addUser, and let's create a new user, get him a name, an email, a phone number, and then a username. After we've done that, we're gonna have to go and create a user by posting it with the new user there, and we can make sure that it's actually the same one. So here we have our users, and at the end we're gonna have to make sure that it's updated. So let's have a look at how to do that. Because we have it online on the database, it's been created, but we don't have it offline on the list here on the right. As you can see, it's not there because that list is local, it's not online. So how do we do that? We just go and add at the end that the m_users list is gonna have a new user in there. So we're gonna add user. Note that the user that we're using, is the user that we fetch from the post, is not the new user that we created locally. So we can be sure that user is actually being fetched from the mock API, from a database online, right? Even if it's not true. So let's play again, and we can check that actually, yes, our good old George Salmons has been added to the database online and has been retrieved from the database online. How do we actually make this sequential though? Well, let's actually get everything in there, and let's put an await there and make sure that this method actually is calling tasks and not voids, because a task can be awaited but a void function can't. So we're gonna go and write task here and import system.trending.tasks so that everything is correct and awaitable. And I'm gonna do it for all the other methods that we're calling, so that now they're called sequentially by the perform async operation sequentially method here. So on start, we're gonna get the user, we're gonna change its email. Well, we're gonna get the user, we're gonna print the second user, we're gonna change its email, and then we're gonna finally add a user. And this is all gonna be done sequentially. So let's play and have a look at how it works. So get the users, and bam, 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 and we add Georgie, and here we go, done and dusted. So this is pretty much all you need to know. As you can see, everything is being done sequentially, and that should get you started with no problems dealing with any API possible. So there's also some authentication functions, and there's also some other methods that allow us to deal with media operations. So let's just have a look at the media operations first before we close down the video. So we're just gonna go through this example quite quickly. Here we have our nested classes, one for the cat text, and that's gonna just have a string of text, and one for the cat info, which is gonna be holding the text, the image, which is a text2d, and the audio clip, which is gonna be called sound. Then we have our cat member variable, right, public, so we can have a look at it, and some references to the loading UI, the image and the text to display the cat information that we get, and finally the audio source that is going to play the sound, and the various endpoints to get our data. The first one is just an awesome API that just returns cat pictures. The second one is one that retrieves some cat facts, and the last one is just the sound that I'm getting off the internet of a cat purring, which is obviously the only thing you want to get when it comes to cats, right? So first we fetch the audio source, and then we call get data. What get data does is that it sets the loading UI to be active, then it retrieves an array of cat texts from the facts API, and then for each of these texts it just logs it to the console. Afterwards I select a random text and I set it to a variable, then I get the image using the API get texture call. And then after that, I get the sound or the audio using the API get audio. Now, something important here is that we also have to specify the audio type. We have to make sure that the audio type matches the one that you're getting. Like, that's pretty much it. Then we set up the variables inside the class, and then we set everything to be displayed. So we set the image to have its native size, which I think is just a nice touch. That's it. Then we set the text, and we set the clip, we make it loop, and we play it. And finally, we set the loading UI to be inactive. So whenever we call get data, we do all those operations. And I also hook them up to a button that you can see at the top right. So let's go into the scene for the cat scene, let's call it, and let's run it. As you can see, well, we have everything ready to be filled in. And yeah, these are all the references, and that's pretty nice and dandy. That's the audio source, fantastic. Let's actually just hit play and see it in action. That's fantastic. Let's get another one. Let's get another one. We can get as many as we want actually. And as you can see, whenever we do that, the list at the bottom is gonna be increased by 1. And also the audio for the purring will be overwritten because it's being fetched every time. So let's just keep going for a while, but this is the gist of it. That's all you ever need to know when it comes to retrieving media from the internet using SimpleAPI. We're gonna end up with a lie. I don't know anything about cats. I do know a lot about cats. They are amongst my favorite creatures. But pretty much that's all you need to know. I hope you enjoyed the SimpleAPI tutorial. I hope it's not being too boring or too long, and I hope you appreciate how cool this little tool is for dealing with HTTP requests. As you can see here, we have downloaded the audio for the purring, and we can play if we want to, and you can play if you want to. That's it. Goodbye. Thank you very much for witnessing this tutorial, and obviously you can find the documentation offline and inside the packet, and that's it. Okay, bye bye.